Okay, folks, it's your dude here once again from What You Think, coming to find out what you think. And I have an article here for you from Associated Press. Prisoners in the U.S. are part of a hidden workforce linked to hundreds of popular food brands. An Associated Press investigation found goods linked to prisoners in the supply chains of everything from Frosted Flakes to ballpark hot dogs to gold medal flour and Coca-Cola. Prisoners in states like Florida are sentenced to hard labor and forced to work and are sometimes paid pennies an hour or nothing at all. A hidden path to America's dinner tables begins here. An unlikely source, a former southern slave plantation that is now the country's largest maximum prison. Unmarked trucks packed with prison-raised cattle rolled out of Louisiana's state penitentiary, where men are sentenced to hard labor and forced to work for pennies an hour, sometimes nothing at all. After rumbling down a country road to an auction house, the cows are brought by a local rancher, and then followed by the Associated Press another 600 miles to a Texas slaughterhouse that feeds into the supply chains of giants like McDonald's, Walmart, and Cargill. Intricate, invisible webs, just like this one, link some of the world's largest food companies and most popular brands to jobs performed by U.S. prisoners nationwide. According to a sweeping 2-year AP investigation into prison labor that tied hundreds of millions of dollars worth of agricultural products to goods sold on the open market. They are among America's most vulnerable laborers. If they refuse to work, some can jeopardize their chances of parole and face punishment like being sent to solitary confinement. They also are often excluded from protections guaranteed to almost all other full-time workers, even when they are seriously injured or killed on the job. The goods these prisoners produce wind up in the supply chains of a dizzying array of products found in most American kitchens, from Frosted Flakes cereal and ballpark hot dogs to gold medal flour, Coca-Cola, and Riceland rice. They are on the shelves of virtually every supermarket in the country, including Kroger, Target, Aldi, and Whole Foods. And some goods are exported, including to countries that have had products blocked from entering the U.S. for using force or prison labor. Many of the companies buying directly from prisons are violating their own policies against the use of such labor. But it's completely legal, dating back largely to the need for labor to help rebuild the South's shattered economy after the Civil War. Enshrined in the Constitution by the 13th Amendment, slavery and involuntary servitude are banned, except as a punishment for a crime. This clause is currently being challenged on the federal level, and efforts to remove similar language from state constitutions are expected to reach the ballot in about a dozen states this year. Some prisoners work on the same plantation soil where slaves harvested cotton, tobacco, sugarcane more than 150 years ago, with some present-day images looking eerily similar to the past. In Louisiana, which has one of the country's highest incarceration rates, men working on the farm line still stop over crops stretching far into the distance. They are largely uncompensated. They are being forced to work, and it's unsafe. They also aren't learning skills that will help them when they are released. It raises the question of why we are still forcing people to work in the fields. Willie Ingram picked everything from cotton to okra during his 51 years in the state penitentiary, better known as Angola. During his time in the fields, he was overseen by armed guards on horseback and recalled seeing men working with little or no water passing out in triple-digit heat. Some days, he said, workers would throw their tools in the air to protest despite knowing the potential consequences. They'd come maybe 4 in the truck, shields over their face, billy clubs, and they'd beat you right there in the field. They beat you, handcuffed you, and beat you again, said Ingram, who received a life sentence after pleading guilty to a crime he said he didn't commit. He was told he would serve 10.5 years and avoid a possible death penalty, but it wasn't until 2021 that a sympathetic judge finally released him. He was 73. The number of people behind bars in the United States started to soar in the 1970s, just as Ingram entered the system, disproportionately hitting people of color. Now, with about 2 million people locked up, U.S. prison labor from all sectors has morphed into a multi-billion-dollar empire, extending far beyond the classic images of prisoners stamping license plates, working on road crews, or battling wildfires. Though almost every state has some kind of farming program, agriculture represents only a small fraction of the overall prison workforce. Still, an analysis of data amassed by the AP from correctional facilities nationwide traced nearly 200 million worth of sales of farm goods and livestock to businesses over the past 6 years. A conservative figure that does not include tens of millions more in sales to state and government entities. Much of the data provided was incomplete, though it was clear that the biggest revenues came from sprawling operations in the South and leasing out prisoners to companies. Corrections officers and other proponents note that all work is forced and the prison jobs saves taxpayers money. For example, in some cases, the food produced is served in prison kitchens or donated to those in need outside. They also say workers are learning skills that can be used when they are released and given a sense of purpose, which could help ward off repeat offenders. In some places, it allows prisoners to also shave time off their sentences. And the jobs provide a way to repay a debt to society, they say. While most critics don't believe all jobs should be eliminated, they say incarcerated people should be paid fairly, treated humanely, and that all work should be voluntary. Some note that even when people get specialized training, like firefighting, their criminal records can make it almost impossible to get hired on the outside. They are largely uncompensated. They are being forced to work, and it's unsafe. They also aren't learning skills that will help them when they are released, said law professor Andre Armstrong, an expert in prison labor at Loyola University, New Orleans. It raises the question of why are we still forcing people to work in the fields? Okay, folks, this article is much longer than this, but I'm going to stop here. I just wanted to give you the gist of it and find out what you think. I'm probably going to post the link to this article at the bottom of the video. So folks, chop it up in the comment section. Let me know what you think about prisoners working in prison, not getting paid not learning skills that help them to incorporate themselves back into the society when they come home. This is your boy from What You Think. Stay blessed. Keep pushing forward.